Jury present, Your Honor.
Call. You are ready to see it? Witness.
Daniel Florence.
Daniel Florence. You swear or affirm the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right, sit down and put this down, please.
Thank you, Judge. Could you tell us your name, please?
Daniel Florence.
How are you employed?
I'm a detective with Lexington Police Department.
Okay. How long have you worked with the police department?
Almost 9 years now.
And were you a detective back in June 2014?
No, ma'am.
What was your assignment then?
I was assigned to the CLEAR unit, which is the Community Law Enforcement Action Response Unit.
Okay. And what were you doing with the CLEAR unit at that time?
Essentially, we patrolled the higher crime areas of Lexington.
Okay. Did you have a particular area that you were assigned to at that time?
I was assigned to East Sector, and in East Sector we had two subdivisions, basically Eastland and Woodhill.
Okay. And on June 21st, 2014, where were you working?
In Woodhill.
Okay. Does Woodhill include the Austin City Saloon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to ask you specifically about something that occurred on June 21st, 2014 at the Austin City Saloon. Do you recall responding there that night?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And do you know what time you responded?
Around 1:29 a.m.
Now, prior to that, what had happened that caused you to go there?
Another officer and I were sitting in the parking lot at Woodhill Plaza near the movie theater there, and I remember hearing a couple gunshots at that time, and within a few minutes they dispatched a call that they're in a shooting at Austin City. So,
When you heard the gunshots, did you know where they come from?
no, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay. And then what did they tell you to do from there? What was the dispatch?
Well, it wasn't dispatched to the other officer and I. We just, once we heard the dispatch go out, we proceeded as ovations. We were such close proximity.
What was the dispatch?
It was that there had been a shooting at Austin City, and there was a victim.
Okay. How far away from Austin City were you?
I would say probably several hundred dollars.
Okay. So it didn't take you long to get
It did
there?
not take so long, though.
And what happened when you got to the parking lot?
When I first pulled into Austin City, I observed quite a few patrons out in front of Austin City, so I got out of my cruiser and approached them. And they all seemed that they didn't really know why I was there. Apparently nobody had known what had happened. So I started making my way back to the parking lot towards New Circle, and I observed that a female authority was pointing in the direction of the center of the parking lot, and that's when I observed the first victim laying in the parking lot.
Okay. And who was that?
That was, I believe, was Megan Price.
Okay. And what was going on with Miss Price at that moment?
She was sitting on the ground, kind of frantic, obviously it appeared to be in pain. And I also at that time observed Jonathan laying on the ground next to a pickup truck. And I advised the other officer to tend to the female, and I started to tend to Jonathan.
Were you the first officer there
I was.
in conjunction with the other officer?
Correct.
Okay. Now tell us about what did Jonathan look like when you arrived?
He was unresponsive. There wasn't any movement. He was laying face down, and like I said, he was completely unresponsive.
Okay. Did you try to do anything for him?
Yes, ma'am. After a few seconds transpired, Officer Flannery showed up, and we rolled Jonathan over and started doing chest compressions on him.
Okay. Were you able to do anything else?
Dave Flannery had also showed up, who was nearby working on duty, and I asked for him to retrieve a CPR mask, at which time when he brought it back, I tried to do breaths on John.
Okay. What was his condition?
Completely unresponsive.
Okay. When you were doing breaths, did anything happen?
Yeah, it appeared that his airway was clogged with vomit and blood.
How could you tell that?
It shot out the side of the CPR mask on my hand.
Okay. And while you were doing this, was there any change in his condition? Do you know if ambulances were called?
Yeah, they responded pretty quickly.
How many?
I believe it was 2.
And Detective, what was Miss Cross doing while you were working on Jonathan?
I just remember her yelling, asking us to take care of her husband.
I want to show you what's been marked as Commonwealth's Exhibits 21, 22, 23, and 24. Commonwealth's Exhibit 21 has been previously introduced. And Judge, at this time, I would need to introduce 22, 23, and 24 and publish to the jury.
22, 23, and 24 are there.
Thank you. Can you take a look at these photographs and tell me if you recognize me?
I did.
Would you mind flipping through one of them? How do you recognize these?
I remember this is the location where we located Megan and Jonathan.
Okay. And so are these photographs a fair and accurate representation of Austin City parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to first show you what's been marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 21. Can you tell us what you see in this photo?
2 pickup trucks and an SUV and a passenger car and some debris on the parking lot.
Okay. Can you tell us where you first saw Jonathan?
Jonathan was just to the left of the dark-colored Dodge pickup truck, where you see the debris laying on the ground.
Can you reach it?
Sorry.
Can you reach the photo?
Yes, ma'am.
And then point to the correct location.
Jonathan was laying here,
Okay.
and Megan was in this area right here.
All right. And I'm going to show you what's been marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 22. Do you see anything different about this photo?
Just the debris, maybe, the blood on the ground.
Okay, and you mentioned debris, and you I'm speaking up so that you're hearing me.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that debris?
These are the latex gloves that were worn. This is the case in which the CPR mask was in, and the CPR mask, I'm not sure what the other items are.
Okay, were those items there when you arrived?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Would those be items from medical care?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 23. Can you tell us what this is?
That's just a different angle of the area. This is where Jonathan was located. To this truck here, I believe, and this is where Megan was located.
Okay, can you see Austin City Saloon?
Yes,
In the
ma'am.
photo? Okay. And then what is this?
It's just a series of shops in the parking lot.
All right. And I'm going to show you what's been marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 24. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, and what is that?
It's the little cut through that goes back around those shopping centers, New Circle Road. Located right here, and then there's an apartment complex just at the back side of that shopping center.
Okay, and let me show you. Well, the stores that I showed you earlier, do they extend out?
Yes, ma'am, that's that series of stores I was talking about. It runs back towards Austin City.
Okay, thank you. Detective, after the ambulances arrived, did you have any further involvement there on the scene with trying to locate suspects?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell us about that, please?
Well, I spoke to a couple of the clerks at Thornton's, and we also canvassed the area back behind there to see if we could locate any more evidence.
Okay, were you able to locate anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, and you mentioned in the beginning that somebody waved you or pointed you to Megan and Jonathan.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you speak with that person?
I did.
And were they able to give you any information about what had occurred?
She had stated that...
Without saying what happened, were they able to give you any information
Yes.
that would lead you to a suspect?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you tell me this question again?
Yes. The woman that waved at you to
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
you where Jonathan and Megan were,
Yes,
did you speak with that person?
I did.
Okay. Did they witness any of the shooting?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Detective?
So,
Okay. When you said earlier that after you were done assisting, helping the process, you went down this way and back around?
I did.
Okay, and so this storefront that faces New Circle, that's kind of on its own side, it's the sign's place?
That sign company is.
Okay. And so we see the police tape there, but you guys actually went down this way, and then there's a drive that goes back around.
It comes all the way back around, back towards Codell.
Okay. And of course, Codell runs parallel to New Circle, right? And I guess perpendicular back there. So-
They cross each other.
Right, okay. So, if someone was to drive their car down this way, they don't have to come back up this way
They do not.
get out there. They can go a different way. Okay. Now, you and nobody you were with, nobody took pictures back there behind the building, right?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay. Do you remember what the lighting conditions were back there? It was pretty dark.
If I recall, it was pretty dark.
Okay, pretty dark.
I think there's a few lamps back there.
Okay. Do you remember if there were any cars parked back there?
There's typically a couple parked back there, but I don't recall any specific vehicles.
Okay. So there may have been cars parked back there because typically there is, but there may not have been because you can't remember.
Correct.
Right? You certainly can't remember seeing a silver car back there.
I don't recall, no.
Okay. All right. And as I said, nobody back there, you guys took pictures back there. or anything like that.
Not to my knowledge.
Now, you guys were back there presumably with your flashlights, going around, looking for evidence.
Correct.
Okay. Didn't find anything substantive, right?
No, sir.
Okay. How far did you search?
I would say probably about to where the last shop or building is, right behind maybe like where Austin City is.
Okay. So we're talking about a search that would go back around this corner that we're viewing, and then backtracking up back towards Austin City, so over some number of yards, maybe even hundreds of yards, correct? And are you aware that searches actually even continued up to Codell Drive and across Codell Drive?
I was not aware of that. I did not participate in the search.
Okay. Okay. You said you went to Clearview, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question that may seem a little, a bit of a non sequitur. You heard the phrase "the cut" before?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Yeah. Woodhill, it's a high crime neighborhood, right?
Based on statistics, yes.
Okay. Well, that's what you testified to, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's why I was assigned to that area, because it had been deemed that, not by me, but
Right. Yeah. Statistically, a high crime neighborhood.
yes.
And it was in 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes in high crime neighborhoods, there are places in between fence rows or buildings or what like that where there's well-beaten paths where people travel, am I right?
Correct.
That's what I'm referring to when I say the cut. Have you heard that
Oh,
before?
I have, yes, sir.
Okay, you heard about the cut before.
Mhm.
Somebody's going down the street and sees the police and they run through the cut, right?
Correct.
Okay. Woodhill has a lot of cuts, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And as you mentioned, this backs up to an apartment complex, correct?
Yes.
Back behind there, okay. But then from basically Codell over is substantively the Woodhill neighborhood is all right there, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. you also interviewed friends, friends of the Prices that were there that night with them?
I did.
Okay. Detective, I don't have any more questions at this time.
Hello, Detective.
Ma'am.
Do you have all those photos up there still?
So this might be the best photo to do it. You said that you arrived and you parked your cruiser closer to Austin City, the front where there were a bunch of people,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you walked over to the area that we're seeing in the photo.
I jogged.
Jogged, okay. I just wanted to stop you to drive over it.
No, I did not.
But once other first responders started to arrive, were they driving vehicles up to that area?
To be honest with you, I don't remember, ma'am.
You don't remember? You do remember there were 2 ambulances
I
though?
do, yes.
And do you know where they were located when they parked?
I would have to really be able to point it out. I'd have to see a full shot of that parking lot to be able to explain it.
Okay, well, if this photo is not helpful, maybe you can try to explain it without the photo.
They were from closer to New Circle, where there was as many vehicles.
So,
Yes, ma'am. I believe they were parked over in this area behind the vehicles here.
okay. And you were not the only unit that responded that night, right?
No, there were several.
Okay, do you remember how many units are there responding? There was a lot of activity going on in that area, right around where Jonathan and Megan were found.
Yes, ma'am.
And everyone's focus initially was just on dealing with Jonathan and Megan, right?
Initially, there was 4 or 5 of us, up until they were transported by medical, EC. After that, that's when a lot of other people started showing up and taking off the area and that kind of thing.
And you were unable to find any evidence, forensic evidence, anything like that, when you were conducting your research?
I personally did not find anything.
Okay, I think those are all the questions I have. I'm going to put this over.
No.
Here's the receipt balance. Okay, so you make that down. And the next one
John Purdy.
is swear or affirm the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Or I have seen so.
Can you tell us your name?
John Purdy.
And where do you work?
I work East Sector, 3rd Shift Patrol for the Lexington Police Department.
Okay. Now explain that a little bit for us. What does East Sector mean?
The city's divided up into 3 sectors. You've got West, which is the west side of town. You've got Central, which is your downtown, northern part. And East is everything east of that.
Okay. Does that include the Woodville area?
Yes,
All right. You said 3rd shift. What hours are those?
that's 22 to 08, 10 o'clock in the evening till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Sorry.
And so were you working that shift in that sector back in June 2014?
Yes,
Specifically June 21st, 2014?
yes.
All right. And on that day, were you dispatched to Austin City Saloon?
I heard the call go out. I don't recall if I was dispatched specifically or not. I probably was, because it's my B2B. When the call went out, I was off of Richmond Road, and I was heading inbound to take a ride onto New Circle to head toward Woodhill. I was running lights and sirens. On the way there, dispatch updated saying that we were looking for 2 male blacks who were last seen running towards New Circle, which is exactly where I was going. There's quite a bit of foot traffic that crosses New Circle right there at Woodhill across both inner and outer loop of New Circle towards, there's a Dodge dealership right there, there's the church, and there's the Home Depot. There's a lot of foot traffic that goes in there. So instead of going straight to Austin City, I was hoping I could see somebody running. I went left towards the back of the church and Home Depot and went around that area for several minutes and didn't see anybody. So I went
Do you know what
back.
time this was?
The call went out at 1:29, 01:29.
Okay, and so were you en route looking for people at 01:29?
Yes,
All right, that would be 1:29 in the morning?
yes.
All right. So tell us about, you were looking for them, went by the Home Depot, didn't see anything.
Right, searched that whole area. It's a pretty big area. But I figured with the time the call went out, by the time I got there, figuring someone running, I didn't see anybody down there, so made my way back across New Circle to Austin City. Pulled into the parking lot. I knew I could see where other cruisers and people were gathered on the far end of the parking lot, away from Austin City, more towards the rear of the fort is right there. Parked the car, got
Where did you
out.
park your car?
I'm sorry?
Where did you park your car?
Off to the side, kind of perpendicular to a couple empty parking spots towards the rear. Be the parking spots right at the rear of the Thorntons.
Okay, of the Thorntons across the street?
It's right there.
Is it in the same parking lot?
You've got so you've got Austin City, I'm looking from the top, you've got Austin City right here, and then you've got Long Leg for the shopping center, and you've got New Circle, you've got Wood Hill across here, and right on that corner is the Thorntons.
Okay,
So,
okay, go ahead, you parked your
yeah,
car.
so I parked at the rear. It was Officer Dave Hart, and I got there about the same time. As soon as I got out of the car, I could hear a female subject yelling and screaming. I started towards where I knew everybody was, and there was a pickup truck between me and everybody else. There were two legs sticking out from the side of the truck that I could see maybe from the shin or knees down. And they were jerking and twitching. I remember thinking, we call everybody he because I didn't know who was there. I remember thinking he's still alive because I saw the legs moving. Rounded the end of the truck, and then that's when I saw he was laying right there.
And was he moving his legs?
No.
Okay.
Excuse me. Florence and another officer who I can't remember who it was were performing CPR. If you've ever seen it done for real, not like it is on TV, it's pretty violent. There's a lot of movement.
Were they performing CPR on the male victim?
The male victim.
Okay. Did you see a female victim?
Yes, she was where I was standing. She was off to the right, maybe 10, 12 feet away. She was seated, just kind of leaning back on one or both hands. She had one leg extended, the other bent back, or I don't recall exactly. She was.
Could you see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
She was crying, screaming. I think she was yelling out, "Is he okay?" Her husband, obviously.
Could you see any injuries?
Yeah, she had what looked like a bullet hole to her one leg. I think
Okay.
it was in her upper thigh, I think.
Okay. And did you try to assist her?
No, there was somebody else standing right there with her, and honestly, in her condition, I knew EC was coming. You could hear them. They got there just a few minutes after I got there.
Okay. What does he see?
The ambulance, fire department,
Okay.
emergency care. And she was conscious, she was crying and yelling and all that, so I knew, it wasn't like, I didn't think she'd been hit the femoral arteries, I didn't think she was going to bleed out. But again, she was conscious and the EC was going.
Okay, and there were officers tending to the male victim?
I'm sorry?
There were officers tending to the male victim, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
At one point, somebody had brought a CPR mask, and they were performing chest compressions and breaths, but I saw his face when I first came around the end of the truck, and he was gone.
And so, did ambulances arrive?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
wasn't.
It's okay,
Was
let me ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ambulances arrived, did they pick up those two individuals?
I didn't see them because I was busy elsewhere, but yes, they did.
Sure, okay. Now, tell me about, when there's a crime scene like that, do you all try to secure it?
Yeah, we put up crime scene tape. It's just like you see on TV. It's the yellow, black and yellow tape. Officers were arriving on scene. I wasn't doing anything useful right there with either victim, so been doing this for 15 years, so everybody just kind of assumes roles that they know what he's doing. So yeah, I started calling for other officers who were showing up to grab crime scene tape and start putting it up. We ended up taking a third or half of the parking lot. What we'll do is we'll string it out. We know where the crime took place, and we'll string it out wide. We'll take up a huge area because we want to make sure that we have a large scene to preserve any possible evidence.
And is that what you did in this case?
Several of us put tape up, yeah. I also started the crime scene log.
Okay.
I assumed I was going to be primary on this because it was my beat, so I went ahead and started the crime scene log. I did that for a while.
And what is the crime scene log?
It's a form that we use. It has across the top, obviously, the date of the criminal offense, or we usually don't fill that out till later. And then it has a spot where the officer started the log and the time it started. That's maybe the top quarter of the page, and then the rest of it is like a spreadsheet. There's columns. You fill in the date, and then what you're doing is you're logging people who come into the crime scene. That's going to include your EC and fire. Other officers are assisting with looking for evidence, detectives, forensic services. You keep track of who's coming in, and it can be difficult because there's a lot of coming and going, but again, officers and detectives know before they crawl or walk into the tape that it's held in the law.
Okay. And do you do this to keep the crime scene secure?
Yes.
Okay. Did you look for any potential evidence in the crime scene area?
Yes. Again, I assumed I was going to be primary, so I handed the crime scene log to Officer Hoskins so he could do that, so I could help elsewhere. And in the few minutes before I was told that I was not going to be primary, several of us went along the far edge of the parking lot. So that parking lot that's right close to the new circle there, there's a real wide deep ditch. And we walked along the edge there. There's a drive that goes around the end of the buildings along that ditch that leads towards the back of the shopping center and down below, because there's a bottom floor with several shops along the back. So we walk through there looking for, sometimes you'll find evidence that's been dropped, weapons, possibly property. We're looking for anything.
Okay. Did you find anything in this case?
No.
That's all the questions I have, officer. Thank you. You mentioned that on June 21st, when you got the, you were working that night,
Yes.
right? You got this call, and you knew that there was a lot of foot traffic near the Southland Christian Church, right?
Well, not specifically the church, it's, you see people quite often at night crossing from Woodhill across New Circle. There's a short drive right there, the road that leads from behind the church up between the Dodge dealership, and I think there's an auto zone or something there. But yeah, sometimes you see people walking through that.
Because from Woodhill, if you cross New Circle, it kind of connects to the Richmond Road, is that right?
And there's a long, yeah, it's quite a ways, yeah, eventually, because you gotta cut through the church parking lot or the Home Depot parking lot.
And that's the area you're referring to?
Right.
Okay. So you thought you might be able to locate a suspect there?
Right.
So you looked around for someone running?
Or anybody on foot, I didn't see anybody.
So you then went to the Austin City parking lot, right? And you said that you began the crime scene law, right?
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Okay. And then you walked around behind the plaza, right, behind the shopping center?
I never went all the way around. There's, right there when it makes the curve, there's a set of dumpsters right there. It's a common place for people to shoot apparel, but I walked, I might have reached the dumpsters, I didn't go all the way around. I eventually made my way back up.
You said that dumpsters are a common place for people to shoot up heroin?
I caught people back there before, yeah.
Are those people who just walk over to that area?
I didn't question, they walked there, yeah.
Okay. And so you said when you went down that way, you were looking for anything?
Yes,
So you had your flashlight out,
yes.
and you were looking at the ground, I'm sure?
Mhm.
You didn't see anything?
No,
No discarded clothing,
no,
no weapons,
no,
no discarded purses or wallets?
nothing.
Did you look in the dumpster?
No, I didn't go down that far.
And there was also, so you said you keep a crime, you talked a little bit about the importance of the crime scene law.
Mhm.
Part of the reason to do that is to make sure that everything is documented, who's going in and out of the crime scene,
Right.
right? And on this night, there were quite a few officers who came to the parking lot, right?
Yes.
So I'm sure at some point there was a lot of police cruisers that were visible, right?
Yes.
And you said that part of your duty that night was to guard the perimeter?
Well, not guard the perimeter, the crime scene law, whoever's holding it is standing inside the tape in the crime scene. And they're keeping track of who's coming and going, they're not really guarding. There wasn't anybody else out there like civilians trying to get in.
And you remained on scene that night until about 8 in the morning?
I believe it was 0640.
Okay. And to your knowledge, no one was apprehended that night?
I don't think so, no.
No one was questioned?
I don't know. I stayed on scene right there, so.
I just wanted to clarify something. You talked about seeing the gentleman's legs twitching or jerking. That was because of the CPR he was getting.
Yes.
And that became apparent once you saw.
Yes. It was, looking at his face, we all thought, several of us talked about it, that he had a bullet hole here. So we thought he'd been shot in the face. Probably found out later that it was blood, and fluids, and other things like that. So his eyes were half open, and he just, I knew he was gone.
So just briefly, how long has Woodhill been in your lead?
I worked, that's 2B, I worked there for, 15 years, maybe 12, 13, 14 years.
Okay. I would imagine that a police officer becomes pretty familiar with the neighborhood working at that long. Okay. Woodhill's kind of known, I guess, at least by the clear unit, but kind of generally as a high crime neighborhood, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about the foot traffic across Lee Circle Road. Really, it's not limited to right there, right? Foot traffic is pretty common throughout that neighborhood.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people walking this way and that way.
Right.
Okay.
The reason I mentioned the foot traffic crossing New Circle, because, as I said before, the update, the two subjects were possibly seen running towards New Circle. From Woodhill, there's nowhere else to go except across, and that's where I see people walking, so that's why.
Right. When that call came in, it sounded like perhaps they were crossing New Circle and going towards Home Depot or somewhere, I guess eventually towards Iowa. Setting that aside for a minute, like Codell Drive, Butternut Hill, all these roads back in here, the courts that are lined up, these are all places where there's a lot of foot traffic.
Yes,
Really nice.
yes.
Okay. Especially in the summer.
Kid rock school.
Okay. So to see people walking around Woodville, that's not uncommon.
No.
Okay. That's all I have.
Any follow-up comments?
Just one, Judge. You talked about looking for suspects and people on foot and evidence, you personally. Were other officers also there doing that?
When I described walking around the end of the building towards the dumpsters, there were 3 or 4 of us. It wasn't just me. I didn't mean to make it sound like that. There were
No,
several
that's
others.
okay. I just wanted to clarify. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, members, witness, you comments?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you, sir, you may step down. Please, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time, we're about to recess until Monday morning at 9 a.m. Please join the overnight recess. Remember my prior admonitions not to discuss the case among yourselves. Do not form any opinions or conclusions about the matter that have not been finally submitted to you. Do not conduct any independent investigation or any communications via social media. You can leave your pads, pencils, buttons in your chairs. If you want to collect them throughout the clear out here today for court tomorrow. And I'll see you all on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Be in recess till Monday morning, 9 a.m.